If you're a woman who's so consistent with their workouts, but you still aren't really seeing the results that you want, this video is for you. There are 6 key things I would do completely differently if I had to start my body recomposition journey all over again. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I lost 3 kilos of body fat while gaining muscle mass in just 3 months without eating toddler calories or seeing a decrease in my training performance. I'm going to show you how you can do the same. So please feel free to skip ahead to that part of the video. I am certain that this is everything you need to finally see results in your training. Hello and welcome to my channel. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. I am so excited to take you guys along a much more in-depth modality of content and really just pack value into this channel. I feel like the world of Instagram and TikTok can be very fleeting, very instant gratification-y, and I just wanted a space where we could talk long form content, all of the training and life advice. I'm Dana. I am a strength coach and a powerlifter, and I create content. I'm also based in the Gold Coast, Australia. I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you're probably from the Gold Coast, but if not, I am Australian. You can tell from my voice. And the whole purpose of this channel is just to give you guys more value. I've been creating content since 2021, the year that I became a coach. And my journey into fitness and the gym started after a long-winded battle with anorexia, which is an eating disorder. And in my recovery years, I found powerlifting, which is a strength sport where you have to deadlift, squat and bench. Ew, I can't believe I said it like that. You have to squat, bench and deadlift your 1 rep max at a comp. It's so crazy because you spend all this time in the gym, like even outside of prep, just all of this time training, and you literally only get 9 minutes on the platform at a comp and it's over. And sometimes I think I can't believe that I spend some weeks literally like 15 hours in the gym just for 9 minutes on the platform. But I do love the sport so much, and I love training for something that is not just my aesthetics. Like, I love focusing on the numbers on the bar and watching myself get stronger and overcome all of the obstacles that training does entail. And I don't think I could ever choose a different sport, at least not now. I love powerlifting so much, and I've been doing it for quite a long time. And it seriously saved me. After the years of recovery, my mindset towards health and fitness was extremely obsessive. And I started in the gym with the goal to gain muscle and stay as lean as possible. And I was just completely obsessed with my food intake and my training, to the point that, yes, I had recovered from my eating disorder, but I still was living this very disordered lifestyle. And I found powerlifting through a coach who was a CrossFit athlete. And ever since then, my whole outlook on training and health and nutrition has just transformed immensely. And I've been doing the sport ever since. My first powerlifting comp, I believe, was in 2021 or maybe 2022. I'll have to fact check that. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while now, and I just am so grateful for the sport. I love it so much. I love the community on the Gold Coast and just powerlifting in general. In saying that though, hardly any of my clients powerlift. I have one client over in America who did a local powerlifting meet in Ohio, but apart from that, I don't really train powerlifters. It's just my sport. I mostly train women who focus on body recomposition, getting stronger, and all of the other things that training does entail, which is the topic of this video. It's going to be a little bit of insight into everything gaining muscle and losing fat, also known as body recomposition. I filmed this video because lately I just feel like my whole Instagram feed has been saturated with all of this skinny nonsense and a lot of toning up exercises and nutrition protocols. And I just wanted to educate you guys on what that actually means. And toning is a marketing buzzword that a lot of coaches and different fitness communities use to plug their coaching, but all it means is losing fat and gaining muscle, which is literally body recomposition. I'm going to take you guys through some really helpful tips that helped me have such an effective body recomposition phase towards the end of this video. I'm going to take you with me today for a little bit of a window into my life. It is a Friday and I started work at 5:30 this morning at the gym. I had a face-to-face client. I do mostly online coach, but I have a little sprinkle of face-to-face clients in there because I love it so much. A little bit of admin on my laptop before I head to the gym. I'm actually going to Zero today to see my physio Scott because he's having a look at my ankles and my deadlift. I'm in week 1 of my prep, by the way, for a competition. And so I've had some little issues with my deadlift. I'm using much leg power at all. It's all just back. And obviously I can't do this into my prep. And so I've asked him to have a little bit of a look at my deadlifts for me today, just because sometimes he'll say something and then I'll go and deadlift and it's just like a whole new deadlift. And I don't know how it works or how he understands my brain so well, but whenever Scott gives me a cue, it just translates to the most beautiful deadlift ever. So I'm gonna see him a little bit later and I might even take you guys with me into the gym. I'm gonna do my session with Scott at Zero, which is very North Gold Coast. And then I'm gonna come back to Nexus, which is the gym that I usually train out of, finish my accessories, and then come home and do some more work and film the second part of this vlog, which will be everything to do with body recomposition. Here, I better go do some emails and I will talk to you guys soon. Got some banana bread for myself and a coffee because this is my first week of prep, which is so weird to say, and being like completely candid, my training has been awful. I have struggled so much to show up for myself, and obviously I've been going through the motions because training is my passion, my sport and my job, but oh my goodness, every time I have trained in the past couple months, there has not been a place that I would rather be less. I think that's the right grammar. Just because I've just been struggling a lot to motivate myself to train, and I feel like I've been getting in my head and feeling a little bit flat because of how stressed I've been with work, that when I'm training I feel guilty and like I shouldn't be there. Like, I don't know how to explain it except for the fact that I will be at the gym and I'll feel so guilty that I'm not doing XYZ task that I can't even focus on what I'm doing, and it's been the bane of my existence. And now starting prep, I've just been so stressed because like this is when training kind of matters the most, and I barely hit my numbers this week. For bench yesterday, I think I had one of the worst sessions I've ever had. Weird to experience this, but I was literally shaking the whole morning and I just had this weird feeling in my stomach like something was going to go wrong all day and I couldn't relax, and I was just so overwhelmed and stressed for no reason at all. Like life was good, everything was normal, but I just could not, for the life of me, just get it together. And when I went to bench and hit a really heavy set for 5, I just couldn't stop shaking, and it made my setup so bad that I couldn't really keep my shoulders back and down and stay braced throughout the whole set. And to put into perspective, week 1 of a powerlifting prep should be such easy weights that you can literally do them with your eyes closed. Like week 1 of the start of a whole prep, by the way, not week 1 down the track. And it felt like an RPE 9, which is like 1 rep shy of failure. In fact, I know for certain I would have failed if I did 1 more rep of my bench press yesterday. And it was really disheartening. And I've been trying to not get in my head about it and just approach training more strategically and really do everything right so there's less room for error. And so I'm having caffeine. I'm not having it in the form of energy drinks or pre or anything today, just because I don't want to over caffeinate to the point that I end up being too anxious to train. So I'm just having coffee. I'm having more carbs in the form of banana bread before my session, so I'm not just running on breakfast. Stay tuned for deadlifts.
You want to find a position where you're able to open your knee to be in line with it.
I'm going to to break down exactly how I lost 3 kilos of body fat while gaining muscle mass. I'm going to show you how you can do the same, but don't skip ahead because the first mistake is one that almost everybody makes, and that is thinking you're in a calorie deficit, and it could be the reason why you're not making progress. The whole point of a body recomp phase is to drop body fat quickly so that you don't have to spend lots of time in conditions that aren't really optimal for muscle growth. So dropping your calories slowly is going to reduce in a slower rate of fat loss, which means deficit is either going to be prolonged or inefficient. On the other hand, dropping your calories too quickly to start is going to give you nowhere to go once your weight plateaus and result in a whole host of negative influences on your training intensity and your ability to stimulate muscle growth. My most recent mini cut or body recomp phase, I only had to drop my calories twice because I continued to lose weight on the same calories for many weeks in my deficit, and I did it extremely efficiently. Many people assume that less food means training must suffer. However, this is simply not true at all. This is also one of the many reasons why you don't want to drop your calories too low too quickly, because you want your training performance to increase alongside fat loss. The aim of the game is not to be a less functioning human in the pursuit of fat loss. I honestly reckon that this misconception comes from watching lots of bodybuilders need to drop their training intensity during their prep. However, it's so important to understand that the end goal is not the same. The end goal of a body recomp phase and the end goal of a bodybuilding prep phase is completely different. We're not striving for less muscle growth to be stage lean. We're trying to gain muscle or maintain the muscle that we do have alongside fat loss so that we can continue building after the fat loss phase. You should actually not see a drop in training performance if you're doing a mini cut or body recomp phase, and I honestly think a lot of the time it can be a bit of a placebo. My entire cut, I PR'd in training every single week right up until the last week when my calories were the lowest. Moving your body more is underrated as heck. You can always move more, but you can't always eat less. Obviously, this is dependent on your schedule, but there are so many ways to implement more movement within a busy work life. My 2 personal favorites are purchasing a walking pad if you work from home or if your working situation allows for this. This was such a game changer for my cut, or just implementing a small walk before and after your training session. Number 3 is timing your carbs around your training sessions. Generally, your carbs are the main macro group that will experience the most drastic drop during your cut, and it's so important to make sure that you're still using carbs to fuel your... I like to opt for either training after a carby meal or incorporating a carby pre-workout snack right before I train. At my cut, the volume of carbs that I was eating did decrease from start to finish, and so towards the end, my days would start a lot higher carb before my training session and finish lower carb. This meant that in the morning, I was opting for things like eggs with a side of sourdough or oats, just an omelette with a pre-workout snack later on, and then my dinners would have more fibrous veggies that don't really have such a high carb content, like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, capsicum, salad mixes, just so that I could balance my carbohydrates throughout the day and really support my training. Recovery is just as important as every other step. If you aren't sleeping well and having enough rest days, your stress will skyrocket. This makes you inefficient at building muscle and losing fat. It's also so important for your mental well-being to implement rest and play throughout your week. And finally, tip number 6, macros do actually matter. I used to be under the impression that as long as I was in a calorie deficit and I was eating high protein, my macro split did not matter. And the more that I have done body recomp phases, the more I've realized they're actually so important to a successful recomp. Protein should stay high as your calories decrease. I rarely, if ever, decrease this macro during a deficit. And one of the key things that I see a lot of people get wrong is they have a higher fat to carb ratio. You actually want your carbs to be a lot higher than your fats for general performance, but especially for fat loss. There's a lot of calories in versus calories out stuff online, and while it is true, the thing that it doesn't reflect is the fact that our macros heavily influence our training performance and the way that our body processes different macro groups. Keto is a really popular dieting protocol that I see everywhere, but the problem is that eating a very high fat diet with low carbs doesn't support training performance at all. In fact, it negatively influences your training performance. There are so many studies within the sports science literature that indicate that carbohydrate intake does positively impact your performance. And this is one of the reasons why I make sure that my carb timing is on point, and I also don't decrease my carbohydrate intake so I can increase my fats intake. These are my 6 main tips for anybody who is trying to nail their body recomposition phase, especially if you're more into your training journey than somebody starting out. Now, I do want to specify that this is so personal between us all, and there are so many influencing factors that might make the things that I have said less or more true to your situation. For instance, as women, our hormones do actually influence the way that we attack a deficit phase, and conditions like endometriosis or PCOS do require a slightly different approach a lot of the time. So this information, while it's quite general and broad, it may not actually be applicable to you, but I do believe it's applicable to most of us. I am really excited to continue bringing out videos on topics just like this, and also topics similar in the fitness industry. Your support and feedback means everything to me, so please comment below if you have any requests for upcoming videos or anything that you want me to expand on further, because I absolutely can, and I'm really excited for this YouTube journey to start. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.